If we want to remain a democratic state, we have to have a majority of Jews. Between Jordan and the Mediterranean.
There are 650 kids gathered here today, all of them new immigrants, all of them about to join the IDF.
We combed through Israeli government statistics and found that the proportion of new immigrants who end up in the West Bank is around 4%, but numbers are growing slowly year by year. We wanted to meet some of the new immigrants moving beyond the Green Line to the disputed territories that were occupied by Israel in 1967 and are known by Israelis as Judea and Samaria.
So there are now armed guards at all of the bus stops along this main road. Earlier today there was an attack and 3 Jewish settlers were injured.
In the settlement of Pedwell, we met up with a family that had just arrived from southern France.
All the family is French here.
All of them?
All family on the road. It's a road of Ole Hadash here.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Champs-Élysées here.
The Champs-Élysées. How many people live in this area?
It's 3,000. Bye, Leitra. Tu lui as dit pour vendredi?
Oui.
Ah, ok.
How did you hear about Pedwell when you were in France?
On n'a jamais entendu parler de Pedwell jusqu'à ce qu'on nous propose la ville. On nous en a parlé avec ce qu'on appelle l'Alia de groupe. C'est une organisation.
So had you always planned to move to Israel? Was it always something you thought about?
Ça a été vraiment les événements qui ont fait en France. Après, je pensais pas partir aussi jeune. Je pensais faire ma vie en France et venir à la retraite.
On se sent plus en sécurité parce qu'il y a l'armée qui est tout autour. C'est sécurisé parce qu'il y a des barrières. Alors que dans les villes comme Haïfa, Netanyahu, Jérusalem, ce sont des villes où l'insécurité est peut-être plus importante parce qu'ils côtoient plus de Palestiniens et d'Arabes. Donc peut-être que...
And here there are no Arab neighborhoods nearby. A lot of the world thinks these settlements are illegal and they shouldn't exist.
On part du principe où on a le droit d'exister, on a le droit d'être là, comme eux ont le droit d'être là.
Do you think you'll live in Israel forever?
C'est le but.
C'est le but. Ouais.
It's clear that some new immigrants are being encouraged to move to the occupied territories. So we went to meet the head of the Samaria Regional Council, the man in charge of administering Jewish settlements in the north part of the West Bank, to talk about the newly arrived European settlers.
אין ספק שבשנתיים האחרונות אנחנו רואים גל גדול של עלייה מאירופה, ובראש ובראשונה ממדינות במערב אירופה כגון צרפת, שמגיעים לכאן לשומרון וקובעים כאן את ביתן. אנחנו כמובן מאוד שמחים בזה ומעודדים את זה.
I see you've got a map there. Where exactly are most of the new immigrants choosing to settle?
הגיעו עולים לאזור יקיר, הגיעו עולים לאזור פדואל, הגיעו עולים לצפון השומרון, לאזור חיננית, לאזור שבי שומרון, מגיעים ללא מעט יישובים.
Much of the world thinks that where we are right now is part of an illegal occupation of the West Bank. Surely the immigrants who move here, do they feel nervous about being part of that?
אני חושב שהדיבורים הפוליטיים האלה על כבוש, לא כבוש, זה מאוד מיושן, זה דיבורים של שנות ה-90. אני חושב שהיום הציבור בעולם מבין את הבעיה, יש 200 סכסוכים עולמיים בערך, כרגע ברגעים אלו, הבעיה היא דאעש בסוריה ובעיראק, הבעיה היא לא כאן, שומרון זה הארץ התנ"ך, רוב העולם מאמין בתנ"ך, ובוודאי שכל מי שמכיר תנ"ך וגם מי שלא מאמין בו מבין שיש לנו שייכות לכאן, לאזור הזה של השומרון. בוודאי אלה שעולים לארץ, ככה שזה לא מהווה מכשול, אולי להפך.
Just nearby, quite recently, there was another attack on Jewish settlers.
אני אומר בחיוך שהאבסורד הוא שהיום צרפת היא הרבה יותר מסוכנת בגלל אותם מוסלמים רדיקליים, דווקא כאן בישראל ובשומרון הרבה יותר בטוח.
That may be the view from the settlements, but Israel's security is backed by military might and the ubiquitous presence of the Israeli Defense Force. In recent years, the Army says it's seen an increase in foreign volunteers, with many recruits coming through special programs for new immigrant soldiers.
We have just arrived at this park in the middle of Tel Aviv, and there are 650 kids gathered here today, all of them new immigrants, all of them either new soldiers or about to join the IDF. This is like a high school prom, but with half the people in IDF uniforms. Are you going to be a combat soldier?
Yeah, of course. I have a gun and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of gun are you going to get?
I think it's M16. We're supposed to have it every day, every hours with us. So I hope everything will be okay.
Like you're never allowed to put the gun down?
No.
I was a police officer back in London.
Do you know where you're going to be stationed yet?
Not sure, they're the ones that decide all of that, but seeing as I've had a lot of experience in the dangerous areas in London, I'm sure when they see me in basic training and in advanced training, they'll know to put me in hopefully one of the harder areas.
Do you find that the immigrant soldiers are particularly passionate about being in the IDF?
Of course, they made a huge decision to move. Sometimes 6,000 miles away from the parents, from the home, leave everything behind.
They're passionate Zionists.
Exactly. Zionism, it's Zionism. It's their motivation. It's their personal journey to help Israel, to help themselves. And I think that we just need to thank you to those newly coming to Israel.
If Israeli projections are right, mass immigration will continue to feed the IDF with fresh recruits. But there's an enormous gap between the tens of thousands that have recently made the move from Europe and the exodus that some Israeli officials are predicting. To help understand that disconnect, we went to see Dov Maimon, who was commissioned by the Israeli government to write a report on Aliyah from France.
So how many people in Europe would be eligible under the law of return to move here?
3 million, 4 million maybe altogether. It could change the geopolitics.
What do you mean that it could change the geopolitics?
You know, the demography is the key of everything, as you know. Between the Jordan and the Mediterranean, this is the borders, 10 million people, about 500,000 Jews and 500,000 Arabs. And if we want to remain a democratic state, we have to have a majority of Jews in this place.
So you think that immigrants could turn the balance?
Absolutely, sure. Already we have the birth rate among Arabs is decreasing and the birth rate among Jews is increasing, so it's already a change. The train of history is on its ways. Let's say that 500,000 of Jews will leave Europe for the next 15 years.
Last year, if you look at the numbers, you saw, say, 7,000 or 8,000 leaving Ukraine, about the same number leaving France. It seems hysterical to say 500,000 could leave.
First, 3 years ago, we have 2,000. 2 years ago, we have 5,000. Last year, we have 7,000. This year, we have 10,000. So it could go much faster. Charlie Hebdo, it could happen 1 or 2, 3 times, and then we have a kind of people who decide to move.
But right now, the numbers coming, I mean, it's a drop in the bucket.
Your perspective is about 1 year. My perspective is 3,000 years. So we don't have the same perspective. This is a big difference.
For now, immigrants from Europe continue to arrive in Tel Aviv, and some officials still insist that a Jewish exodus is just around the corner, and that when it happens, Israel will be ready and waiting.